Hi everyone, and in this video I'm going to start the chapter that is demand. In this chapter we are going to discuss what is demand, what are the factors that affect the demand, and how the demand of person can be calculated. We will discuss all these things in this chapter. Now, first of all, we are starting with the definition of demand. The demand is defined as the demand of a commodity that a consumer is willing to buy at a particular price during a given period of time. Now, in demand, we generally do not consider the ability of the person or the consumer to buy. We only think about the quantity that the consumer or the willingness that the consumer is going to demand. In this case, we are not at all concerned about the ability of the consumer to buy. Demand is a flow concept. Demand in demand there is only desire. There is no ability or the purchasing power is given in the definition of demand, and in correspondence to demand there is quantity demanded. A technical language or a technical definition is given as the quantity demanded for a commodity refers to the quantity of that commodity that the consumer is willing and able to buy at a particular price during a given period of time. That is, in quantity demanded, we consider both the desire and ability of the consumer to buy the goods. In demand, we consider only the desire of the person to buy the goods, but in quantity demanded, we consider both desire and as well as the ability of the consumer to buy the goods. Both demand and quantity demanded at a, are flow concepts. Now, what is flow concept and stock concepts we will discuss later in class 12. In class 11, we generally just tell that quantity demanded and demand both are flow concepts. Now, let's discuss in general what is demand. A person goes to a market and buy apple for rupees 10. Now, that person think that if the price of the apple is rupees 10, he can able to buy 20 apples. Or we can take another example that a person buy 20 kg of rice at rupees 35 in a month. This statement contains all the three aspects of demand: its price, quantity, as well as period of time. Here we have discussed here that demand of a commodity refers to the quantity of the commodity that a consumer is willing at a particular price during a particular period of time. That is, ability means purchasing power is also given, that is price, quantity is also given, as well as the period or the flow is also given, that for how much period he will purchase that, he will consume that much commodity. Okay, I think this concept is clear to all. Now I'm moving towards the next concept, that is the determinants that affect the demand. Demand is generally affected by five components, and some more components are also there in given in the books as well as other reference books. But generally, these five components mainly affect the demand of a commodity. As per our syllabus, these are price of the commodity. That means the price of that good. Suppose we are purchasing an apple, therefore the price of the apple affects the demand for that apple. Generally, there is a not generally, it's the fact that there's an inverse relation between the price of a commodity and demand of a commodity. There is an inverse relation between the price and demand. That is, if price increases, the demand of that commodity decreases, and if price of that commodity decreases, the demand of that commodity increases. Let's take example. Suppose person goes to a market to eat a burger. If he gets rupees 50 per burger, he can purchase two burgers. Okay, and suppose the price of the burger rises to 100 rupees. Now the person's income is fixed that he has only 100 rupees in his pocket. He will buy only one commodity of that food, that is burger. And if the price decreases to 25, the consumer is 100 rupees, he can purchase two more, that is at a total of four burgers can be purchased by the consumer. This shows clearly a inverse relationship between price of that commodity and demand of that commodity. This factor is affecting the demand. The next factor is price of related goods. This is also known as cross price demand. Now, in details about this cross price demand, we will learn later in BCom honors or graduation courses of CA and CMS courses. And here the price of related goods are two goods, substitute goods and complementary goods. What are these two goods we will discuss now. Price of substitute goods means the goods which can be used in place of another goods. Suppose if a person is drinking tea and the price of the coffee decreases and tea price increases. Now, in general, the normal consumer will behave like he will stop consuming tea and increase the consumption of coffee as the price of coffee has going down and the price of tea has remained constant. This shows a direct relationship between the price of the commodity and demand of a substitute good. Not that good, demand of a substitute good. Now let's see what is there. It means that the price of the coffee tea decreases and demand for the coffee increases. Tea increases. Here the example is given: price of tea and price of coffee. The price of tea increases, the quantity demanded of coffee is also increases. See the example: this is the upward sloping curve where the price of tea and quantity of coffee is shown. This shows a direct relationship between the price of the goods and demand of its substitute goods. Let's see the example. The price of tea increases from 10 to 15, the quantity demanded of goods increases by 200 units of coffee. And when price of tea increases from 15 to 20, the demand for coffee increases from 1200 to 1800, and similarly price of tea increases from 20 to 25 to 30, and quantity of coffee increases from 1800, 2500 to 3000 units. I think this relation between substitute goods is also clear. Now I'm moving towards the next topic, that is price of complementary goods. There is a inverse relationship between price of a commodity and demand of its complementary goods. Now, what are these complementary goods? These complementary goods are those goods which are used together, such as we generally eat jam with bread. We cannot eat jam only and we cannot eat bread only. We generally use both the things, or we generally use butter or bread. And or the examples are petrol and cars. These are the examples of complementary goods, as both the goods are used simultaneously or togetherly. There is an inverse relationship between price of the commodity and demand of its complementary goods. That is, the price if the price increases, the demand of its complementary goods decreases, and if the price of the commodity decreases, the demand for its complementary goods increases. Now let's take the example of petrol and quantity of cars. The price of petrol increases from 100 to 500 and the quantity of car decreases by 1000, that is from 5000 to 4000. Similarly, when the price of petrol increases from 500 to 1000 to 5000, the quantity further decreases from 4000 to 2000 to 500. Now, in the right side, we are given a diagram of complementary goods where in the vertical column the price of petrol is given and in the horizontal column quantity of car is given. Therefore, we are seeing that there is a downward sloping curve which shows a inverse relationship between the price of the commodity and quantity demanded of the complementary goods. Now I think this topic is also clear. I'm moving towards the next topic. Next, factors that affecting the demand of a consumer. The next factor is income of the consumer. Income of the consumer generally affects three things, three commodities. The commodities are divided in three categories, which are inferior goods, normal goods, and necessary goods. Now, what is inferior goods? Inferior goods, for example, bajra, non-branded fructose, generally purchased from various cheap markets that they are non-branded and they are inferior goods. And branded car, branded any brand car, 4K TV. any costly watch. These are normal goods, and salt, medicine, these are necessary goods. Now, what are these? Inferior goods generally shows a inverse relationship between the income of the consumer and the demand for that commodity. What is this inverse relation? Just see. This curve shows the inverse relationship between here when the price of the sorry, this will be this p will be y. This all p will be y in this. So when the price of the commodity, when the income of the person increases, the demand for this inferior goods decreases in general. So these are called inferior goods. See, this is a inverse. This downward sloping curve shows the inverse relationship between the income of the consumer and demand for the inferior goods. This shows that when the income of the consumer increases, the demand for the commodity generally decreases. In normal goods case, when the income of the consumer increases, the demand of the commodity also increases. This shows a direct relationship between the demand of the commodity and income of the consumer. The examples of normal goods are given already: the branded cars, 4K TV, LED TV, LCD TV, any costly watch. These are normal costly watch or normal watch also. These all are normal goods where the curve also income curve shows a positive relationship or a direct curve, upward sloping direct curve that shows the normal goods case. In necessary goods, generally the demand do not change as a person eating 2 kgs of salt in a month will, will consume 2 kgs only, whether if his income increases from 2000 per month to 2000 crore per month, he will eat 2 kg of sugar only, 2 kg of salt only. Therefore, since is a necessity good, the price whether increases, the income whether increases or decreases, the quantity demanded will be same. So the fourth factor that affects, I think this case is also clear to all. I'm moving to the next topic, that is taste and preference of a consumer. Taste and preference are generally divided in two categories. One is favorable and another is unfavorable. That is favorable taste and unfavorable taste. When some small things, not very big topic, when in favorable case, when the goods are in favor to the consumer, that is consumer preference and taste are in favor of that goods, the demand increases and the curve shifts rightward. And now don't think that what is rightward shift or the upward shift. We'll discuss later in this topic. And when so let left this topic, we will discuss later. And in unfavorable preference means when the taste and preference of the consumer is not in favor of the goods, the demand decreases and the curve shifts leftward. I am given this D1, D2. Let's see this. This is D1, this is D2. This is a normal demand curve. When the taste of preference of a consumer increases, the demand curve shifts rightward, and when the taste and the preference of the consumer decreases, the demand curve shifts leftward. Example: pizza has a favorable taste, therefore the curve shifts rightward, and since carrot has an unfavorable taste, its demand curve shifts leftward. Now, I think it's also clear, and now you will see the summary with what we have read till now. To recapitulate whatever have we have done, the static factors affecting demand or determinants of demand are price of a commodity, price of related goods is R related goods, income of the consumer, taste and preference. Price of a commodity has inverse relationship between the price of a commodity and demand for that commodity. And price of related goods are further divided into two categories: price of substitute goods, price of complementary goods. Price of substitute goods shows a direct relationship between the price of the commodity and the demand for these complementary goods. Inferior goods, complementary goods shows an indirect or inverse relationship between the price of the commodity and demand for its complementary goods. In case of income, the normal goods shows a direct relationship. That is, when the income of the consumer increases, the demand for that good also increases. In case of inferior goods, there is an inverse relationship. That is, when demand for the commodity, when the income of the consumer increases, the demand for this goods decreases. In case of necessity goods, there is no relation at all. Consumers generally do not behave as per the law of demand. This is the exception also of law of demand. We will discuss what are the where there are various more exceptions. We will discuss later in this chapter. The fourth factor affecting the demand of a consumer is taste and preference. Taste and preference are divided into two categories: favorable and unfavorable. Favorable taste have a direct relationship, and unfavorable taste has an inverse relationship. Thus, the demand function forms, that is, dx equal to function of px py pry po. Here dx equal to demand of a good, px equal to price of good x, pr, some says pz, in some books written pz, reflects price of related goods, y reflects income of consumer, p equal to taste and preference, and o is other factors. Other factors I have already told, it's not a part of a syllabus, so we will not discuss here. Other factors are generally future expectation of the consumers in various more. So thus the demand function is demand of good X equal to function of price of good X, comma price of related goods, comma income of consumer, comma taste and preference, comma other factors. Okay, so with this we are ending this session and we will continue with tomorrow session. Thank you.